shootout at a shopping mall in Columbia, South Carolina over Easter weekend. And now a South Carolina judge granting this man a $25,000 bond, again, for the suspect, Jawayne Price here. The Columbia Police Department saying this. Price is now under house arrest, but still will be allowed to travel to and from work while wearing an ankle monitor. Back at work today. Allegedly. Authorities say Price has been charged with only unlawful carrying of a pistol, could potentially face more charges, but that's where they are at this point. Joining us now is Sheriff of Sacramento County in California and California congressional candidate Sheriff Scott Jones. Sheriff, thank you so much for coming on, and thanks so much for taking the time here. I'll talk about your run in just a second, but if I can, just get your thoughts over this. We've seen 3 mass shootings over the weekend, 2 in South Carolina, 1 in Pittsburgh, the one in Pittsburgh leaving 2 dead, and the one in South Carolina at the mall, again, leaving what Columbia Police calling a suspect already out with an ankle monitor, able to go right back to work here. But explain how this process goes and potentially seeing more charges down the road.
Right. And of course, we had our own mass shooting in Sacramento about a week ago. And it's not just our story. It's a story, as we see, that repeats itself throughout the country. Now, I suspect, without knowing, of course, that this district attorney is examining to make sure that they get as many charges as possible levied against this person. But at this moment, while they're still investigating, they can only provide bail for the charges that were charged at this particular time. But man, I think the best predictor of future behavior is past conduct. And I think if it's predictable, it's definitely preventable. And everything that we're seeing is predictable and therefore should be prevented, but just isn't.
You know, looking at this, something that you brought up earlier here, the Sacramento gang shootout leaving, I believe, 6 dead. And if you want to give me a little more details on that, you can. But I believe you're blaming soft on crime policies of what we're seeing here and the rise in violence, because you're right. It's happening in various cities, including in Sacramento as well. Talk to me about that and what needs to change.
Sure. Well, if you recall, I came on as a 21-year-old deputy sheriff in 1989. In the late 80s and early 90s, violent crime was out of control in this state and around the country, and that gave rise to things like 3 strikes and gang enhancements, gun enhancements, things that reversed the trend of violent crime over the last 2 or 3 decades. And I think people have a short memory, and they think, okay, well, we don't have nearly the violent crime we used to, so we don't need those things anymore. And we're seeing in California and around the country the systematic the dismantling of 3 strikes and these other enhancements that led to a reduction in crime without people realizing the cause and effect. And again, we're going right back to where we were in the late 80s and early 90s. Now we have the added problem of getting people out of prison, keeping people out of prison, and the zero bail, not getting people in jail that need to be in jail. The recidivism rate in prison is 0, but we know with a statistical certainty that when folks get out of prison that otherwise would be in prison, there is a statistical crime rate in California as much as 70 or more percent.
I'll show you this. It's a Politico headline, and it brings it up to a federal level, if you will, all the way to the top. Biden's solution to the politics of rising crime, focus on guns. And I also want to show you this. It's an Ipsos ABC News poll showing that 59% of Americans disapprove of the way President Biden is handling the rise in crime. Again, 59% there, the most recent polling until April 9th. Sheriff, are guns to blame for the crime crisis across our nation?
You know, I'm glad you brought that up, and it's just ridiculous to blame crimes. It's like blaming a car when a drunk driver gets in a vehicle and kills somebody, and then having greater restrictions on cars. It's silly. The gun, just like the car, is an instrument. We don't need more gun control. We have, in California, among the most restrictive gun laws in the country. We need more criminal control. That's what we need. That's what we're missing, and that is what is going to get safety back to this state and this country, which is why I'm running for Congress.
And talk to me about that. Obviously, you have a heavy background in policing. What would you want to carry over as far as what your experience is throughout the force? What would you want to carry over to United States Congress, and what would you want to change? What would you want to bring?
Well, there's a couple of things. Number one, I've been in the sheriff's office 33 years, 12 years as sheriff in one of the largest sheriff's departments in the country. I know how to keep people safe. More importantly, I know how to make people feel safe, and both are lacking in this entire country. I've done that here. I can do that in the entire country, but also border security. We had an officer killed in 2014 that by someone who'd been removed from this country 4 times with no consequences. So securing our border and making sure we don't have these lapses that cause catastrophic consequences is still something that's very, very personal to me.
Well, Sheriff Scott Jones joining us live, also running for Congress. Sheriff, really quick, how can they find out more about you?
ScottJonesForCongress.com. They can certainly learn more about me and help join the fight.
All right, Sheriff, thanks so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.